Hello, everyone. I'm Dani, and welcome to our podcast. Today, Great.com talks with Bukeni Waruzi, who is the executive director of the Free the Slaves initiative. If you haven't heard of them, they are an organization devoted to change the conditions that allow modern slavery to exist. They are present in 27 countries right now. If you're new here to this podcast, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because today we learn about how we can help people to be free of slavery all over the world. Hello, Bukeni. Welcome to our podcast.
Hello, Daniela. Pleased to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation.
It's truly our pleasure. Bukeni, would you mind to introducing yourself a bit to our listeners, please?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Bukeni Waruzi, Executive Director for Free the Slaves. I am based in Washington, D.C., in the United States. That's where the headquarters of our organization is. And originally, I am from the Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. To begin our conversation, our Q&A here, I wanted to actually start by reading a very short but very meaningful phrase you have on your website, if you don't mind. In there you say, slavery is the result of vulnerability. I like the sense because it's so very true and helps us to understand your approach to the problem, I believe. So if you don't mind, I'll cut that into two parts of it. So first, slavery. I believe that this is not the reality of most of our listeners, honestly, but it's something very, very real for millions around the world. So can you give us a better picture of the scenario?
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. And it is quite a very complex question, but I'll try, to help explain it in a very simple way and using very simple terms. Slavery, as we know it in the past, was, that kind of a massive coercion of people from African descent to different regions, including Europe and North America, etc. So that's what we have learned. That's what we know when we talk about slavery. So we know that slavery ended back in in the 18th. But while it has ended as we thought, but it actually has not. It simply took different forms and shapes. Why? It is no longer nations going into southern countries and then take people by force, take them into other regions where they don't know, no roots, no connection, nothing, and start their life over. That's not what is happening. What is happening is what now it's called modern slavery. While the principle is still the same, the dominance, the coercion that goes with it, those factors are still well alive into what we define as modern slavery. Now, what is more modern slavery? So these are practices that happens in communities, whether in the form of forced labor, in the form of child labor, in the form of modern slavery, in the form of any way that a human being will exert coercion and dominance because it has power over another human being to perform acts that are not that the person had really subscribed to. So that is what is called modern slavery. And today, the situation is complex. The level of modern slavery, it's huge. Right now, the numbers that we're looking at, there are over 40 million people in slavery around the world. That is what we can define as slavery now. And I can then go to the next question as I wait you to ask it. the second half of the question.
Yeah, I'm just shocked about the number. It's way more than I would expect it to be. And just before we jump to the second bit, how can I mean, I'm in Brazil and we have social conditions that are hard, yes. Yeah. But how can I, like middle class Daniele here, can be connected to modern slavery?
Well, the number that I gave, the plus 40 million, these are statistics of 2017 from the International Labour Organization that did a study in 2016 and published it in 2017 that find that there are 40.3 million people in the world in conditions, that are enslaved. The majority of them are women and children. Now, Daniele today, who is a middle-class person, Brazilian, based in São Paulo, in Brazil, is she vulnerable to slavery? Can she contribute to slavery? The answer is yes, especially in the condition where we are now with the COVID situation. An example, you have a family, you are working very well prior to the COVID situation, and here the COVID hit. You lose a job, you don't have any income. You become a beggar in the street, begging to get some money, to get something to eat. Begging is a form of more than slavery. Your children will want maybe to go work somewhere doing work that they should not have done. Kids belong to school and belong into a specific house within a family, but they have to go work at some of the beaches, just try to work to make money so that they can bring some money home and feed the family. That is also slavery. So there are others that are forced into forced prostitution because they need to find money, because of their situation is very dire. They need to find a living. That is slavery. So we're talking here about a magnitude of factors that really make vulnerable everybody, people, and then can be trapped in slavery. So are you vulnerable to slavery? Yes. Things can happen. Can you resist slavery? Yes, you can resist slavery. You can say no. I better do something really that will dignify me than getting into it. But all these factors are factors that you may not plan for. You may not know until they happen. But you have to be aware so that you don't get trapped into modern slavery. Can you also be part of the people who orchestrate modern slavery? Yes, there are traffickers who traffic people. For example, you will have an internet business where you recruit maybe migrants from Latin America come to Brazil, dreaming better jobs. When they arrive, they give you money, they give everything, they sell their small properties they have in their countries just to make it to Brazil, because you have told them if you arrive here, you're going to find a better job, you're going to have a better life, and you're going to find much money. You're going to help your family. So you arrange everything, and then the person travels to Brazil. While in Brazil, you says his or her passport, and you put her in conditions where she cannot leave. She has to be under your jurisdiction, meaning under your supervision the whole time, meaning every income that she gets, it has to go into your hands. You have to decide what she eats, what she does, where she goes, everything that she does. So you actually compound the person within the limit of what you want. That person is not free. And the contrary of freedom is slavery. So you enslave that person and you're making money out of it. Now, this is a business? Yes, it is a huge business. For example, human trafficking today is the number 3 big businesses in the world. The number one is the traffic of small arms. Small arms generate over $200 billion a year. And the number three, as I said, is human trafficking. Human trafficking generates over $150 billion a year. And then the number two, just if I can say, the number two is, the number two is the drugs. They generate a lot of money. So even the drug can be even the number one. And then there are, small arms trafficking is the number two. And then the human trafficking is the number three. And human trafficking is also another form of slavery. So you can see, if we look at the definitions, slavery in the past, in the old form, was a business. Mm-hmm. And now we're talking slavery. If you look at what I just said in terms of human trafficking, generating billions of dollars, for people doing the business, it is also a business. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say it may have changed the form and the shape, but it still exists, and it has a name what we call modern slavery.
Well, thank you for bringing those numbers. I feel like this helps us to really understand what we're dealing with, because it's a huge thing. And I did a quick research here because I do like to put things in perspective. So obviously, in terms of fake news, it needs some double and third check. But as far as I checked in here mm-hmm. using Google, 40 million people, it's more than the population in 2021 of countries like Poland and Morocco and Canada. So just for our listeners to put that in perspective, it's bigger than those countries.
Yes.
Just saying. And okay, now for the second part of that sentence is the result of vulnerability. Mm-hmm. How does that relate to the organization's strategic plan for tackling modern slavery?
Yeah. So as you say, you see 40 million and more are counting because of the core COVID situation, as I gave you an example. The core COVID situation has exacerbated the vulnerabilities to modern slavery. People losing their revenues. They have to find a different way to go around to make a living. And how they go around, they get trapped into things that they could not have done in normal time, but they are doing it just to make money. And as they want to make money, they got trapped into modern slavery. Whatever it can be, street begging, forced prostitution, or sexual exploitation, all of those are forms of modern slavery. Now, free the slaves are identified its kind of focus to answer the question why people are getting into modern slavery. That's a major question. So this is because there are conditions that make them getting trapped into slavery. What are those conditions? They are so many, but we decide to focus on three of them. One is poverty. Poverty is one of the major factors that lead people into slavery. Because you need to make a living. If I gave you an example of a migrant coming from, let's say, Honduras or Panama, dreaming to come to Brazil to make a living, it's poverty. And then she or he get trapped into modern slavery, into trafficking in Brazil, where he cannot move, he don't have paper, and doesn't have any money, and he's under the supervision of another person who is the same power of him. That's the first condition. And that factor has been identified as one of the key factors by the SDG, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. The first sustainable goal is poverty. How to fight poverty. If we fight that, we can get people from getting into slavery. So that's the first. And then the second that free the slaves intend is climate change. Climate change is the huge deal of our generation. Why? Because you can imagine a small farmer in the Amazon who's facing drought has to figure out how to become nomadic, going somewhere to find where it can find fertile land, where it can find rain or anything that can help her or him really survive and really sustain the impact of climate change onto his land. So that really leads also many people, or will lead many people into a form of slavery, where they're gonna lose everything and then and then they will get trapped into modern slavery. And then the third condition is the racial injustice. We know that racial inequality is a big factor that lead people into slavery. Imagine not being considered as part of the society just because you happen to have a different color. You get trapped, maybe, do anything because, you are not being considered. You can be vulnerable to sexual exploitation just because you want to affirm yourself into somewhere, and you can find some opportunities to live. And those opportunities might be the one that leads you into modern slavery. So these are the three major factors or conditions that freed slaves intend to work on in order to prevent more people from being vulnerable to modern slavery. We know these are not all. There are so many others, that are maybe linked to customs or traditions. There are some traditions that can lead into slavery. There are many other conditions, but we cannot do everything. We have to be focused. So we're trying to actually focus on these key factors that lead to vulnerability to modern slavery. Now, can we reduce the slavery? Yes. We think if we tackle this using the United Nations framework, I think we can get to a point where we can maybe prevent more people from getting into modern slavery.
Right. I would never think about climate change on that situation, I must say. I think this is a very interesting take on the story. And wow, I'm really interested about what else you do, you might do in the future. But a question that I have here, it's a very personal curiosity, is that once you have removed people from that condition, what happens to them? They receive some support from you. What happens?
Yes. So what we do is that you have people already living. I mean, we've been already in. As I say, the number will go up because this statistics is in 2017. The number is going to go up as a result of the COVID.
Do you mind if I interrupt you? It's just the beginning of your sentence just got completely missed on audio. And we need that. So if you don't mind, please start over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we work to make sure, we provide enough support to people, to the survivors, as we call them. You remember, I gave the number of 40 million. These are statistics of 2016, published in 2017. But we are awaiting for a new number, for an updated number that will come later this year or early next year. And that number will have no surprise. It's going to be up because it's going to be more than 40 million, maybe 50, maybe 60, depends on what will be the findings. Now, people already entrapped into slavery, they have to get out there. How do they do? How do they become, what do we do to make them reintegrate their life? That will dignify them again. So we provide many services, and we do that working with our local partners because we believe our work focuses on changing the conditions that allow modern slavery to exist in local community. Meaning our work is focused on the local communities. Now, as more people are getting out of slavery, they have to be reintegrated. So first, we do provide psychosocial support because you can imagine a girl was recruited from India to Qatar to go be into forced prostitution. As the girl get out that situation, need some psychosocial support, need some economic, support to regain something, need some social support, working with local community to welcome and support the survivors. And also make sure, in the social support as well, include education. Some of them want to go back to school to continue their normal education so that they can get, high degrees or degrees, and then, do something meaningful as they wish. So we have an array of really the services that we do provide to survivors, and we empower them to take the leadership that they need, to empower them to speak out against that practice, to make sure perpetrators, we also make sure perpetrators of modern slavery are held accountable, working with justice sectors. Um, um, we also make sure, for example, the perpetrators. These perpetrators include even corporations. You have, for example, some of the corporations making manufacture in the global south. They pay maybe $1 or $2 a day per workers. That kind of wage is a wage that will make someone live in poverty the whole life. And while these corporations are getting billions of dollars in return. So we have to hold them accountable. So there is quite a vast range of services that we do provide to the survivors as they get out of slavery in order to empower them, to give them the support they need from the community as well, so that they can re-engage again and restart their lives.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think it's a very broad approach again, and it's very thoughtful. So it's good to see how this question has been taken under your care. It's a very important thing. And unfortunately, I have to go to the end of our interview. And my final question, that is for everyone listening to us that would like to help this initiative, what is the best way to help you out right now?
Yes, thank you so much. There are many ways people can help. We need to help prevent this. One is, I will ask people to get educated about this issue. You can visit our website, www.freetheslaves.net, to get all the information you may need. That one. And then second, you can also volunteer for Free the Slaves in wherever Free the Slaves work, to get involved, mobilize, raise awareness, and you can find all the information and the materials that you may need at the same site, www.freetheslaves.net. Or you can also donate. We need resources to do this kind of work, to liberate people. You can go to the same website and then do so. I also want to mention one thing. Another thing that we do at local communities is that we build the skills of local community to resist and and also to be resilient to modern slavery. Anyway, so those are kind of 3 ways one can get involved and really help, because this issue, no one is immune from it. It cannot be you directly, but it may be your cousin might be trapped into this. A child of your friends might be into it. And there are many people out there even that are not part of these statistics, because we say 40 million, but maybe there are many more that were not accounted. So there are many people, and anybody's help is very much critical, especially at this time where the challenges are just so high.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, for being here and helping us to be aware of that situation. This has been a great talk. It was incredible to talk to you today.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to continue the conversation.
Beautiful. Thank you. And for your listening, thank you as well. And if you enjoyed this episode, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. That will show the algorithms that this is an important conversation so more people can learn about the importance of freed slaves